Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So as I covered in yesterday's recap video, the Russell was at this important inflection point and we had support in the Russell at 1368 to 1370, and how TF responded to that area would help us establish bias in the S&P. So in the overnight session, we saw that the buy side was active at that 68 to 70 and mainly that 69.5 high volume node in the Russell, and that lifted the selling pressure on the S&P and allowed some upside in ES. So in the overnight session, the buy side has been dominant, and at this point, if we continue to see broad market strength and sustained upside momentum off the open, then the S&P is set to print a fresh all-time high. So heading into the open, our overnight session bias is bullish, our short-term bias is neutral bullish, and our larger time frame bias is bullish as well. And then the Nasdaq has already printed a fresh all-time high. So clearly heading into the open, the buyers are dominant, and now off the open we just have to make sure that we continue to see broad market strength and some decent upside momentum. And if that's the case and we're not seeing any warning signs, then the S&P could print a fresh all-time high beyond 1775. And because 1775 is the all-time high, there is no hard resistance beyond 1775. So the zones above are really based on the range expectation on the day. So in the event that we get a breakout, and if we actually get a pickup in volume, then the S&P has potential to get to 24 to 26. But again, that's only an estimate, and it only comes into play if we do see a pickup in the volume situation. If the market continues to run on very light volume, then it can make a fresh high, but it doesn't necessarily have to go all the way up to 24 to 26. So the range on the day is really going to be dependent on whether we start to see some better volume come into the market in real time. On the downside, we have the current developing balance area high volume node at 13.5, and then we have pre-market support at 10 to 12. And ideally, if the market is going to print a new high, then we want to see it holding above the 24.10 to 12 zone. And a break below the overnight low would be a signal of weakness, and at that point, the potential for a breakout would be relatively low, and ES could go down and test 24.08 and the support zone at 0.75 to 0.64, where responsive buyers can technically still be active. So our focus today is going to be much more so on the long side, but again, the caveat is that we do have to see that broad market strength continuing off the open, and we do need to see sustained upside momentum with the NYC tick holding above zero and the market actually holding above pre-market support and ideally even above the 13.5 high volume node. So as long as we're seeing those signs, our focus will remain on the long side and we'll be more cautious and selective on the short side. And then in the event that the market tries to break out but there is no momentum behind the move, or if we're simply not seeing participation from the other markets and we're not seeing a upward trending AD line, then the breakout would be risky and the market could just continue balancing within the recent 3 to 4 day range. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side can maintain the strength and the control that we've seen in the overnight session, and we'll take it from there.